Welcome back to the Taste of BPCC. I'm your host, Adam Stampley, and today I'm here with Chef Sean. And what are we making today?
So today I'm going to be making a chocolate cheesecake. It's just your typical cheesecake, but it has melted chocolate added in just for flavor. So with cheesecake, you have your typical cream cheese. I'm using something called mascarpone, but it's not really that different. It's just a substitute. It has eggs and condensed milk, chocolate, and vanilla for the batter of the cheesecake. And then for the crust, I'm going to be using graham cracker crumbs, butter, and sugar.
Okay. So what's our first step?
Okay, so the first step is going to be making the crust. It's pretty simple. You just need to pour in graham crackers and your melted butter and your sugar. It's pretty easy. You could mix it in a mixer, but it's not really a need to. You can just mix it by hand. So pretty evenly mixed. You just want to put it in the pan, pack it down.
Do you have to worry about like the side? Like, do you have to make it into a shape that can hold the batter, or do you just layer it on top?
Well, a typical cheesecake, you cover the bottom and then you make it, maybe you press it up maybe a ½ inch up the side. You can also have it completely up the side, but what I've seen for typical cheesecakes is like maybe like that much. So like it just comes up the side a little bit.
Okay.
So I will just go ahead and finish packing this in. And the thing is, you might think that this is too dry because it's very powdery, but it's just the butter is just enough so that it will compact and stay up on the sides and on the bottom, just to make sure it has, you know, some kind of solidity to it. So, I mean, the crust is just to have a base for the cream cheese. Okay, so the crust is done.
Okay.
Next is to start working on the batter. So the first thing you need to do is make sure your chocolate's melted. Method I prefer and what a lot of people prefer is a double boiler method. And it'll take a little bit, but the thing about a double boiler is that it's indirect heat and it's only to about the boiling point of water, which is 212 degrees Fahrenheit. You could also put it in a microwave, but the thing is with that, it's a lot more uneven heating, just because microwaves aren't exactly efficient. And so you could more easily burn stuff in the microwave, but double boiler is really good for making sure you don't burn your chocolate and it melts evenly. Okay, so once I have the chocolate melted, it'll hold for 15 or 20 minutes. After I've melted the chocolate, I'm going to take the mascarpone and put it in the mixer. And I just need to get it softened up, nice and fluffy and smooth. And then after that, I'm just going to basically start adding ingredients in. Put that there. Turn that off.
So you said we have like 20 minutes until it's like...
Yeah, it won't be a big deal. So you need to take the cream cheese or mascarpone.
And what else is going in here?
Next, after this, will be the condensed milk. This just needs a couple minutes to soften up. So would you turn it on, please? Just to a medium speed.
It would probably help if I had it on the right way.
It's okay.
Is this a good speed or faster?
A little bit faster.
And what is this doing? Is this just like whipping it up? Or?
Yeah, so it's adding a little bit of air. It's also just warming it up a little bit because you always want, with baking, you want everything to be consistent. You want things to be mixed evenly. So with this, you're just spreading it out and making sure if it's too hard, then it'll be harder to mix, but you just want to give it some time to warm up a little bit so it'll mix easier. I'd say that's good. So next goes in the condensed milk. It's very thick.
So back on to the speed we had it before? Or? Okay.
Okay. Now start cracking my eggs.
And when does the vanilla get thrown in? Is that next?
Just afterwards. I mean, this is the easiest part. You just throw everything in.
Throw everything in. And what made you start liking to cook or liking to bake? Like, was it a certain person or?
I'd say cooking in general is, you know, I grew up always cooking like dinner and stuff with my mom for the family, and so I guess I probably just like cooking out of that. But probably my preference for desserts came from just me liking sweet stuff a lot, and also I've been better at making desserts and baking than your more savory kind of cooking stuff. Okay, so now the chocolate goes in.
Wow, that looks so good.
Okay, so it's basically done now, but with baking, you always want to scrape the bottom of your bowl because all mixtures have some kind of inefficiency because they can't always get to the sides and the bottom perfectly. So you want to scoop the bottom of the bowl, and there's always going to be a little bit of unmixed stuff at the bottom. Looks good to me. So
Looks good to me too. And I don't even know what good is.
I mean, my personal feelings about cooking and stuff is if it tastes good, then I mean that's like that's the pinnacle of cooking. Your first step is make sure it isn't going to kill anybody.
Right.
After you know it's not going to kill anybody, then does it taste good? If it does and it's ugly, you know, who cares? But then once you know you can make good food, then you can start, you know, thinking about how can I make this look nice. And so, I mean, with like this kind of chocolate cheesecake, you could do all kinds of garnishes. You could, you know, there's a typical like whipped cream and berries, but you know, there's always just more creative things, and that's one of the things that the chefs always try to get you to do is to, you know, they want you to keep thinking about how can I make this better? How can I be more creative with this? And you know, let's see if I can think about something. So with the chocolate cheesecake, which is going to be, you know, it's going to be kind of sweet, a little bit bitter from the chocolate, creamy. And so, you know, you could try doing something that is, maybe like a little bit spicy, like maybe some kind of, like some cardamom or some allspice, you know, just kind of like,
Just like variety.
Yeah,
you
I mean, you always want to have, you know, just some kind of multiple layers of flavor. You know, like, it's like putting, like cinnamon in something, I mean, or nutmeg. It's kind of that spicy, you know, kind of warm feeling that just makes the sweetness a little bit better.
So normally, what would we do next to like with the cooking aspect?
Oh, with this, all you have to do is put it in the oven.
For how long?
So for this, I would say 300 degrees Fahrenheit. I think this cheesecakes take a long time to cook. I think this should take about 60, 65 minutes. Yeah, so don't forget about it in the oven. That would be very bad. But the way you check and make sure it's done, you just take some kind of toothpick or a skewer, stick it in the middle. This middle is going to be the what's going to take longest to cook. Stick it in the middle. It should pull out clean or mostly clean. If it comes out wet at all, it's going to need, I would say it'd be safe to add 10 minutes at a time to the cooking time, but when it comes out, it's going to look, you know, cakeish on top. It's going to look matte. and it, just your typical flat cheesecake. It's really important to make sure that once it comes out of the oven that it cools down to room temperature at least before you cut it, because if it's too warm, then it's just going to fall apart when you try to cut it. And personally, if you ask me, a warm cheesecake isn't as good as a cold cheesecake.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a warm cheesecake.
It's not that good. Okay, so.
All right, well, thank you for joining us for the Taste of BPCC. Once again, I'm Adam Stampley, and this is our chef, Sean, and we'll see you back here next week.